Hello there. Welcome to American Heron Wargaming. This is a special May the 4th battle report of the X-Wing miniatures game. This has become a bit of a tradition for me, and I wanted to keep it rolling, even though it meant playing the game, editing, and releasing this video in less than 24 hours, which was a bit of a challenge, but worth it. Today's scenario is called Cover the Extraction, and it's from the Epic Battles scenario book, which was released back in the X-Wing 2.0 days, so we're kicking it slightly old school. Since we're using Epic Battles, it was of course the perfect opportunity to get some huge ships on the table. For my Rebels, I went with a list inspired by the Rebels show. The CR-90 was Jun Sato's ship, the Liberator. It had a stalwart captain at the helm, a point defense battery, damage control team, and optimized power core. Harrison Dula joined in the Ghost, with no other upgrades other than the title and AP-1 docked in the Sheathipede shuttle. Wedge Antilles in the A-Wing was our Dreadnought Hunter, an epic-specific upgrade which helps you take down huge ships. Then Sabine Wren had the veteran wing leader upgrade to bring along 2 Phoenix Squadron pilots with her. Then we had 2 Y-Wings, Dutch Vander and Pops Krail, both equipped with proton torpedoes. You can also see the 3 special shuttles I 3D printed and painted for the scenario. Technically they're just flat remotes, but I wanted to give them a bit more character for the game. I also built this Imperialist, but fortunately found someone else willing to pilot it against me. Instead of going with another Rebels themed list, I wanted something more built around the huge ship. So of course, I gave the Raider the Corvus title. It was kitted out with a Zealous Captain, proton torpedoes, ordnance tubes, turbo laser battery, Gar Saxon, sensor experts, and Tabana reserves. Iden Versio in her Gold Interceptor leads a wing of Alpha Squadron pilots. Gideon Hask is in the Red Baron Interceptor, and both he and Iden have the Enduring upgrade. Del Mico and Saint Marana fill out the Inferno Squadron theme and join the fight in their standard TIE fighters. To round out the force, I did bring it back a little bit into the Rebels' direction. Volt Scaris comes in a fully tooled up TIE Defender. It's the elite variety, so no white K-turns, but it has the heavy laser cannon and cluster missiles and a fire control system. Volt also has the outmaneuver upgrade and is the Dreadnought Hunter. We built a pretty dense field of obstacles, 6 per side. Then I put down the shuttle remotes for the scenario. They couldn't be in any deployment zone, within range 1 of an obstacle, 2 of a board edge, or 3 of each other, which actually left very few locations to put them down. I opted to put one fairly close to my opponent's deployment zone instead of in the middle to force them to commit to one side of the board. Points in this game are scored based on destruction as usual, but the shuttles add an additional way to score points. At the end of each turn, I have to roll a number of attack die equaling the round number. Out of that roll, a single hit or crit result can add 1 counting token to a shuttle, but only 1 per shuttle per turn. A shuttle with 3 counting tokens completes the jump to hyperspace and is removed from the board. I'll score 75 points for the 3 tokens on there. If my opponent destroys a shuttle with counting tokens on it, then they score 25 points per token. The game has no fixed turn limit, but ends once all shuttles are off the board one way or the other. The shuttles have 8 HP, 1 agility, but if there is a friendly ship in the attack arc when they're shot at, they get an extra evade result for free. With all that out of the way, we got our forces deployed. The A-Wing and Interceptor wings both set up on the flank, with an eye on the single shuttle on the left. The huge ships, Hera and Gideon, all set up to focus on the 2 shuttles on the right. Wedge is there too, hidden under the Ghost. Both Y-Wings were docked in the Liberator, and the TIE fighters were inside the Corvus. But with all that taken care of, we got underway. With the first activation of the game, I accidentally set up Sabine's wingman to clip an asteroid. Fortunately, since we were using the 2.0 rules, that wasn't so bad. They took no damage. The interceptors shrieked into engagement range. Wedge also shot up the board, backed up with support from Hera. Volt Scaris appeared to be heading after the A-Wings, or perhaps preparing for an attack run on the Liberator. Wedge tried to plank a shield off the Corvus, but wanted to save his focus for the incoming volley from the Raider. With a range and bonus evades granted by the A-Wings being in the attack arc, the shuttle was able to weather the full salvo from the interceptors, taking only 2 damage. After a primary battery shot and a proton torpedo, Wedge only managed to lose 2 shields. This was better than I was expecting, actually. Unfortunately for me, the long bomb turbo laser shot lanced the Ghost for 5 total damage. Youch. My huge ship did nothing, as nothing was in range. At least I was able to put down a counting token on one of my shuttles during the end phase, which brought us to turn 2. During the systems phase, Pops Krail popped out of the back of the Liberator. I tried to send out Dutch as well, but a 2 bank had him overlapping Pops, so Dutch would have to wait for another turn to deploy. The TIE LNs also launched from the Raider. After moving, the A-Wings and Interceptors were staring each other down. Volt Scaris continued to shoot for that side of the board, pursued by a Y-Wing. Wedge tried to move up and attempt to get around the Raider, but the newly deployed Del Mico blocked him from doing so. The CR-90 itself was burning engines hard trying to close the gap so it could contribute this turn. Hera started the combat phase with an encouraging 4 hits on the Corvus' shields. Volt's long bomb shot into Sabine had her pass off the hit that got through onto a wingmate. Unfortunately, Wedge wasn't able to hang on with 2 of Inferno Squadron bearing down on him at range 1. First blood. And another whiff of an evade roll from Sabine passed a damage to her other wingman. The A-Wings put up some decent attacks, but mainly succeeded in stripping focus tokens from the interceptors. This blunted the range 1 volley, limiting the interceptors to 1 damage on the shuttle and 1 more shield off of an A-Wingman. The Liberator managed to get 2 damage onto the Corvus with a long-range lance, though Hera took 3 more damage and was losing hull quickly. Fortunately, she was too close for the turbo laser battery, and the Liberator was only barely out of the front arc, and thus safe. Unfortunately, the shuttle wasn't. It did manage to avoid the shot, though, due to range, obstructions, and support from friendly ships. And at the end of turn 2, I was able to add another counting token. Shuttle 1 was almost ready to go, which closed out that turn. On to turn 3. In the systems phase, Iden boosted to bring the wings even closer together. Gideon also ended up danger close to a shuttle as well. The Liberator crashed through an asteroid on its quest to get the point defense battery in range. Not having a great option, Hera turned away to try to set up a reposition. Unfortunately, the Corvus didn't turn and was still bearing down on her, and the ties were swarming the shuttle. Determined not to go out without swinging, Hera got 3 hits onto the Raider, one of which was negated due to the reinforced token. The A-Wings had K-turned around and thus had no defensive support against Volt's onslaught. Thanks to some poor luck on his attack and good luck on my side, Sabine only took 1 shield damage of her own across 2 cluster missile attacks. The shuttle didn't fare so well. It lost half its hull points across both attacks from the ties. Volt's luck continued to run cold as Pops' proton torpedo got through most of its 4 hits. He lost 2 damage last round from the Y-Wing's main guns and had only 2 left now. The Liberator did a little bit to the Corvus, but in return ended up losing all of its shields, taking 3 normal damage and a crit. Hera also lost 3 more. At least in the end phase I got 1 hit result and was able to escape with Shuttle 1. This closed out turn 3. The first shuttle was away, but the other rebel ships were looking a bit battered. So it was on to turn 4. In the systems phase, Dutch popped out and gave himself and the Liberator a free target lock. The interceptors had swapped their focus from the shuttle to making an attack run on the rear of the Liberator. The Defender's K-turn gave him a perfect position to shoot at the Y-Wings, but as this is the elite version, it was a red maneuver, so he had no token support. And Pops was there on his tail with a target lock and another salvo of proton torpedoes at the ready. The Liberator's engines were pushed to maximum to bring Gideon Hask in view of its side arcs. The Corvus moved up more trepidatiously, just lightly pushing aside the asteroid in front of it. Dutch's proton torpedoes hit hard, with lock and focus sending a hit and 3 crits through. However, Gideon was also able to take some serious chunks out of the Liberator. Pops' second torpedo finished off Volt's Garrus, though Iden's Alpha Squadron wingmates closed out Hera. AP-1 deployed, but since it was past my activation for Initiative 1 pilots, he didn't get to fire. The Liberator unloaded into Gideon. With a 5-die primary and 4 range 1 3-die point defense shots, it managed to get 2 damage on him in total, whereas the Corvus put 6 damage on Dutch. At the end of round 4, the sky was getting a bit clearer, and both shuttles got a counting token. Unfortunately, though, we checked the clock, and it looked like turn 5 would be the last one we'd be able to play before we had to pack up. Sabine started the turn out strong, landing both of her wingmates on rocks. Volt's Garrus and Dutch both tried to pull away from the opposing enemy huge ships. Dutch even barrel rolled to get out of the path of the Corvus, which was really unfortunate when it turned right into him. Fortunately, it was only a speed 1 hit, and the crit was not a direct hit, so he survived with 1 hull remaining, and was then shunted to the rear of the Corvus, and then managed to get through a hit and 2 crits at close range. The 2 huge ships poured damage into each other, slugging it out to try to wipe the other one off the board. In the end, though, they were both still flying, just heavily battered. Both shuttles accumulated another counting token, but they wouldn't be claimable as we had to pack up. The Liberator had taken 10 hull damage out of its 18, so well more than half. With a final round of point defense peppering, the Corvus was also well below half as well. Most of the surviving Imperials were actually in pretty good shape, though. Iden and her wingmen had taken 1 damage or less, so they gave up no points, nor did the TIE LNs. So my only scoring was Volt's Garrus, half of the Corvus, and half of Gideon, plus 75 points for the 3 tokens on the escape shuttle, which gave me a total of 276 points scored. The rebels were much more thoroughly battered. Hera and Wedge were destroyed, and half points given for the Liberator, Dutch Vander, Sabine, and both her wingmen, which brought my opponent's total score to 285. They won it by a 9-point margin. It's quite a shame that we couldn't get a chance to play out turn 6, as things definitely could have swung in either direction, but it was still a good game as it was. If you want to try out a similar scenario, know that you'll need more than 4 hours to play it out, counting setup and teardown, so be warned. Overall, I think both lists were pretty good, even though at one point the Corvus ran out of proton torpedoes and had no way to reload, which was not ideal. I also don't know if A-Wings and Interceptors are actually the best candidates for flying in wings, as they are fairly tricky to maneuver around obstacles. Otherwise, though, my opponent and I both had a blast, and are hoping to get in some more epic games somewhere down the line. I hope you've enjoyed this battle report, but that's it for now. May the 4th be with you.